Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of a God Shift podcast. I am your host, Shayna Rattler. So welcome, welcome, welcome. If this is your first time, I'm glad you are here. If this is your second, third, fourth, fifth, 27th time, I'm glad that you're back. So you know how we do this. If you will do me a favor, if you will take a screenshot of wherever it is that you are watching this episode and post it on social media. And then when you post it, if you will tag us at a God Shift, I would greatly appreciate it. It helps us to get these episodes into the hands of more people, and it helps more people overcome this disruption and get to where it is that God needs them next. So I am so excited about my guest today. And I know I say that every time, but this one is personal for me because she's actually a friend and I've known her forever. And this is literally on this video right now is the first time that I have seen her in a long time since I've lived in Dallas. So I'm excited to have her here today. So let me read her bio and then we will get into her journey. Gospel artist Kyia Buckingham is a native of West Memphis, Arkansas. Growing up in the church and surrounded by music, Kyia fell in love with music at a very early age. Kyia is a wife, mother of 3 children, and minister of music at New Mount Zion Baptist Church. And I used to go there, I'm just saying. Kyia debuted her single, All of Me, in November of 2018, followed by her current album, Victorious, in 2019, both produced by Jesse Selvey at JS3 Music Group. All of Kyia's music can be streamed on all digital outlets like Google Play, Apple Music, Spotify, Tidal, etc. Kyia is currently finishing her new single, My Worship is My Power, written by her nephew, Aiden Esslinger, and produced by Tyrese Rolfe at Ty Music Productions, release date to be announced. So you guys stay tuned for that. Kyia will soon add author to her resume. Her first book, The Girl Behind the Smile, will be available April 2021. The Girl Behind the Smile speaks to the heart of every woman who has concealed the truth with a smile that doesn't necessarily match their heart. This book reveals God's truth to every lie that many have believed as a result of life's unfavorable moments. Kyia is currently accepting bookings for weddings, banquets, conferences, or any special event. She would also love to come and worship with you at any church service. And let me just say, she can sing, y'all. Not sing, but she can sing. Much better than that. But welcome to the show, Kyia Buckingham.
Hi. Thank you so much for having me. I am so excited. I'm so glad to see you as well.
Yes, I'm so glad that you're here. Like I said, I love when I get to, highlight my friends and all the great things that they are doing. So I'm excited to get into your journey because it's been a while since we've talked and I don't know everything that you have had going on behind the scenes. I know what I see on the outside looking in, but let's get into a little bit about what's been going on in your life. So for those of you that are new to the podcast, my definition of a God shift is anytime a disruption in your life collides with God's purpose and moves you into a greater destiny. So that can be a delay, a disappointment, a setback, a challenge, and it doesn't always have to be negative. So Kyia, can you think of a time in your life that God has had to use some type of unexpected circumstance or disruption?
Yes. So there's been several, but the most recent is everything was going extremely well. And sometimes, when things started to go good, we were like, okay, the devil's going to come in soon because everything was going well. God was blessing me in my music, my family, my business, everything was going great. And all of a sudden I was getting ready for a concert to debut my album, Victorious. Mm-hmm. And one of my children just started to act out of nowhere, just started to act out. And I was asking God, what's going on? At first I got angry because I'm like, as a parent, you get angry because you say, you know better, why are you doing this? And so, but I had to give her grace, the same grace that I once needed when I was her age. And so I asked God, what is that? What do you want from me? How can I help her? What do I need to do? And in that moment, one night in my bathroom, I just sat in the middle of my bathroom floor and I cried out to God. And I was just asking him, what do you need from me? How can I help her? Yeah. And in that moment, he showed me. and the things that I had been through. Sometimes, we go through stuff and we put it in the back of our mind. I don't want to think about it. I don't want to be that way. I don't want to deal with it. So you just kind of cover it up and pile on top of it until it resurfaces. And that's what happened. And God showed me the things that she's doing now. You did that.
Yeah.
You acted out the same exact way in toxic relationships and, wanted to fight everybody because you was angry and you was hurting and you didn't know how to deal with it. So in that moment, I said, okay, God, I see. Now show me how to deal with her. Show me what I need to do. And he did.
Yeah.
I began to pray. I began to seek out to him. And every day, anytime that she would act out, we called it episodes because when I say it would just happen out of the blue, she would be happy. And then any little thing that made her mad, it just turned into chaos. And I used to be that way. And so I would immediately start to pray and call out to him, and she would calm down. We would be able to talk. We were able to talk about some things that she didn't tell me. When she was younger, things that she was dealing with also that she kind of put in the back of her mind, and people would trigger those things. And so in that moment, I gained a greater relationship with God through my prayer life, through being able to speak. God was able to speak through me to my daughter. And in that moment, it was a shift in my life. My worship was greater. Like I said, my prayer life was greater. Everything was elevated because I took out the time to ask him, God, what is that? What do you need from me? And he wanted more. He wanted more out of me. He's like, I know that you're doing, you're living your life now singing, but are you really ministering to the people in your home? You're ministering to people all over, and you're singing and you're encouraging other people, but your family needs you. And in that moment, things change. And when I say I don't want to go backwards, I mean, I feel a closer relationship with God, and I'm grateful for that time. I hated it had to happen that way because my daughter went through a lot of things, but now our relationship is much better. We're able to talk because I got out of African-American parent mode and went into, she needs me. She needs grace from me and her father. And that's what happened. And when I say that shift in my life, it really did.
So let me ask you this, Kyia, because obviously, many of us are familiar with when something happens directly to us. And your God shifts came through an attack on your seed. Your God shifts came through a disruption or an unexpected circumstance that happened through someone close to you. Why do you think God had to use something outside of you to get your attention? Because basically what I heard you say was the reason why he needed to get your attention was because he needed more of you. He needed a different form of Kyia. So why do you feel like he had to use an outside person? He had to work through an outside person to get your attention to show you that he needed more of you.
Because when I would sing, God would be speaking to me in that moment. And because I was afraid what other people would say or how other people would view me, or how they would take it, just afraid to really fully open up and do what it was that God was asking me to do, I feel like he had to show me that you're going to do what I say. Right. You're going to do what I say. And I remember standing on the stage at my concert and still dealing what was going on with my daughter. And she was there. And in that moment, he used me to tell our testimony. And I had so many women to inbox me and say that they needed that. They were going through things with their children. They don't know how to handle it. Because all we know how to do is be that stern parent. Like, you're going to do what I say, no matter what. And sometimes these kids...
Rule by the rod.
Thank you. And that wasn't working. No. It wasn't working. And so it was things that he was asking me to do and speaking to me and say, don't be afraid. Don't be ashamed. Don't worry about how people view you. You doing what I asked you to do. And at the outcome of that, I started to help people, even helping myself.
Yeah.
So I had to open up more. He wanted me to open up more, stop being so closed in, stop being afraid, stop being afraid to speak. I love to sing, but I didn't have the confidence in speaking and actually ministering to people while I'm singing. And so I was working on that, and my producer would say, you have to minister more, but I was afraid to do it. And so God was talking to me too. And so I believe that's the reason why he had to show me in my family, right in my face, because I wasn't listening.
One of the other things that I believe, and I don't just believe this because it's something that I'm hearing prophetically right now, I can say this because I know you personally, is that you are such a supporter of other people. Like, you are one of the most active mothers that I have ever seen, from the time that Ashley and Kylan and Naya were little bitty kids. Like, God, the Kylan's in college and Naya's I mean, like, it just blows my mind that I'm not getting no older, but y'all's kids are. But you were one of the most active mothers that I know. You were one of the most supportive family members and friends that I know. You guys, their family is probably the closest knit family that I have ever seen in my entire life, all the way down to their extended family that lives in other parts of the country. And I feel like, you said something that was key, and that, when it came to matters of your own heart, and when it came to matters of your own life, you had developed a habit of kind of stifling those things and put them to the back. So there's a very good chance that God said, well, if I just continue to allow things to happen directly in her life, she's probably just going to put them to the back. But what I know, is if I let something happen to Kyle and Naya or Ashley, she gonna come to the rescue. And so, he knows his children, right? And he knows that sometimes he can shift us, and other times he has to shove us. Sometimes he can whisper to us, and sometimes he has to scream. Sometimes he can tap us. Sometimes he has to hit us over the head with a 2x4. And he's like, listen, if I really want to get her attention, let me get her attention in the area of her life that I know she will respond quickly to.
Absolutely.
Because what I need from her and the assignment that is on her life is too great for me to allow her the opportunity to just push it behind.
Right. So my feelings and things, you're exactly right. What's going on with me, I tend to, but when it comes to my children, I don't care what I'm doing, what's going on, because I couldn't focus on my project because I had all this going on with my daughter. But I know this is what God wanted me to stop and do. That's gonna be okay. You can sing, okay.
Right.
That's gonna be fine. I need
we got that.
Yes, I need you to deal with this, and I need you to deal with it correctly. And so in that moment, I mean, me and her relationship, she can call me now and talk. What it was, she felt like she couldn't talk to me because of who I was to people.
Yeah.
And so many things that she had to deal with on her own, or her friends was giving her advice, they was giving her the wrong advice. And so when we got that connection, she really felt like I can come to my mom, she won't judge me. She won't throw the Bible in my face. She won't, call off all these scriptures that I don't understand. She will really talk to me and show me, that you can have a relationship with God. You don't necessarily have to write off, understand the words in the Bible. You can pray to him your prayer.
You can do it my way. You can do it your way.
Absolutely. And so in that moment, things began to change. There was a shift in our relationship, in my relationship with God, and I started to deal with some things that had happened to me early on. It all came back. Like I said, we push stuff back and we don't want to deal with it. We kind of let it go, but that doesn't mean that we're healed from it.
Right.
And so those things start to come back. And that's when God had told me a long time ago that I needed to write a book. I'm like, I'm not telling nobody my business. I don't want to be judged from people and people looking at me. And then when my daughter started going through that, it clicked. More people need this. They need to hear what happened to you and how you did not let it destroy you. They need to hear this. So you just going to have to deal with whatever comes from it and put it out there. So that's where my book came up from. And so that's my shift. And I'm grateful. I'm very, very grateful for it. It actually matured me.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm grateful for it.
You know, what I love about what you're saying is that we're so concerned about holding on to our stuff for whatever reason, whether it's, I've done such a great job of looking like I've got it all together and I'm holding it
Yes,
all together, or we
yes,
think people assume that once we reach a certain level that we don't go through anything, like whatever, all these little mind shifts that need to happen inside, but not
yeah,
even recognizing that our similarities of what it is that we're going through there are more common than our differences. So many people are going through the exact same thing that we're going through, or something where they can see our story in their story. And
right,
we know that we're told as we're growing up that we go through things in order to help other people, but then when we go through something, we don't want to let it out there in order
right,
to help other people until we do, and you see the outpouring. So I know
yes,
for me, when I first started being a professional speaker in the business world,
hmm,
they taught me this technique, and it's called the dip theory. And
okay,
basically the dip theory is when you come on stage, you start off with a high point. Like,
hmm,
I have, spoken on all these stages and written all these books and done all these great things, but 4 years ago this happened, and 4 years ago that happened. And then you take them back out of the dip and say, and so the question is what did I do between then and now? And that's what I'm going to share with you today. Now,
got it.
I was listening to that technique, and I was demonstrating that technique only because I was told that it led to more sales at the end of the day, if I could just be transparent. I
Uh-huh, yes,
was not really in my mind telling that story because I was trying to help people, until I told it for the very first time. And when I
got
told that I had to file bankruptcy, and that I couldn't answer that I wouldn't answer my phone because bill
it.
collectors were calling. And I had
Yes,
found myself in a position where all the things that I was able to do and give my son, all the and we could do this and that I found myself in a season where I had to pick this or that. I
ooh,
told that story only because I wanted to have an impact, because what I was going to share with them on the other side is how they could grow their business. And I wanted them to buy from me, whatever I'm just being honest. But the very first time I told that story, and people came up to me and was like, you were talking about being at the end of your rope. You were talking about an and season versus an or season. I gladly told that story then, but not from the standpoint of I didn't give a doggone who bought what at
it
the end
didn't
of
matter.
it. I was just like, oh my gosh, like people's lives are changed because I'm somebody who looks like I've done so much. I look like I've arrived, if you will, and
Yeah,
yet they can see that it didn't start off this way.
right,
That
right,
it wasn't even this way in the middle, right? So I love
right,
the fact that you were able to see, like, I don't need to hold on to this for me. I actually can help another mother. I can actually help
absolutely.
another woman. I can actually help another millennial, or whatever is
Yes,
going on in the world. But I want to
absolutely.
talk about something else that you said. You talked about, you know, how your faith deepened during this process, and how, as a result of your God shift, that your relationship with God deepened as well. And one of the things that I say is that when you are putting your God shift in motion, how important it is to elevate God's position in your life. So why is that important in your opinion?
Because there's nothing else. Like literally, I've tried it without God because things happen to you to make you run away from God as well. And
Yes.
so I've tried it without him, and that was the worst time of my life.
Yeah.
And when I just said, okay, Lord, I give you everything I have, my family, my finances, my relationship with my husband, my happiness, it's all connected to the relationship I have with God. Because without him, I wasn't happy. I wasn't financially stable. My husband and our relationship was going down the drain. So many things happened when I said, okay, God, I give you my life.
Yeah.
So many things turned for me for the good. So God needs to be elevated in order for you to be elevated. I just feel like without him, we are nothing. And I'm not saying that because that's what we were taught. That's what we were trained to say. I'm saying that because I have been there,
Yeah.
been without him, or because I was mad at him or angry because some things had happened. And I'm like, okay, I'm serving you, God. But this is going on. I'm serving you, God, and I'm giving you all of me, and I'm singing, and I'm going, and I'm serving in the church, and I'm doing all these things, but things are still happening bad in my life. And so at one point I was like, you know what, okay, I'm not doing this anymore. You know,
so not, right? This is what it, and we think we are. And the reality is the whole thing he was trying to get you to see is you weren't giving him enough. But in our minds, we're like, if I'm doing all of this for you, like, let's just be honest. If I'm doing all of this for you and this is still happening, I may as well not. It's a lot easier. I call that, in my book, I call that your what the hell is going on moment. In my book, the very first thing I say in the introduction is what the hell is going on? 6 words that many people of faith ask about our lives at one point or another. And usually it's like, I'm tithing, I'm telling people about the goodness of Jesus. Like in your instance, I'm not even singing Pop That Booty Doodoo Brown. Like I'm singing about Jesus. Like, what else do you want? And then nothing in my life is going well?
Nothing is going well. But then I had to, so when I said, okay, I'm done, and I saw that, oh no, this is not going to work. It's not going to work without him. I mean, everything went crazy.
Crazier.
Everything. And so I had to realize, no, okay. It's something more. And then, so I still, of course, I never left God. It was a second that I was like, okay, I'm done with this. But then
leave of absence from your mind, but that was it.
Absolutely. And then I got right back and I continued to do what I was doing, but it wasn't until the situation happened with my daughter when I had no other choice. There was nobody I could cry out to, because you're not going to tell the world that you having these issues, and because what can they do? They can say, I'm praying for you all, or, but what can people really do other than give you some encouragement and pray for you?
That lasts this long.
Absolutely. And after you've done talking to them, it's like, they don't care anymore, and so I didn't have anybody to cry out to but God. And when I sat in my bathroom floor, and I sobbed, and I just, my husband came in and he said he just stood at the door for a minute, then he just left out, and he said, I know what she's doing. And after that, it wasn't overnight, but after that, I just had to say, okay, God, I'm putting it in your hands for real. Because we'll say, God, I give it up to you, and then we'll still try to fix stuff, But I'm like, I'm giving it to you, God. There's nothing I can do. I'm taking my hands off of it. You give me direction. You give me what to say, because that was my problem. My problem was, I say what come up. I'm like my grandmother. What comes up is coming out.
That's right. I know. I'm the same way. You know me. I'm the same way.
Yes. And so
if I think it, I say it.
If I think it, I'm saying it. So I had to filter myself when it came to my daughter, because when I got to yelling at her and going off on her, because it was frustrating to me, because I didn't understand what she needed in that moment. It wasn't monetary. It wasn't attention. It wasn't, things like that, physical things. She needed me to show her my vulnerability. I had to tell her some things that happened to me to get her to understand why I'm going so hard for you. I don't want you to go through these things that happened to me. You understand? And so we can tell them so much, but then we try to sugarcoat it because we really don't want them to know how we really were. You understand? We don't want them.
They didn't have Facebook. We didn't have Facebook back then, so they can't scroll back and see what we was doing back in the early 2000s.
Absolutely.
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah. They can't see that, and so they think that we're perfect, in a sense. And so I had to really share with her. Listen, I'm telling you this because X, Y, Z. I know. And when it comes to a man, I can tell you everything. Okay. You got to listen though, but she wasn't just listening. She wasn't listening to me. So I had to show her my vulnerability, and God had to help me do that, because I was afraid, I didn't want to look like a bad parent. There was so many things that went on. And so I had my elevation with God, or I had to elevate God in my life, to get the results I have now. And I can honestly say now we have a great relationship. Things are going well. I'm more confident I still get a little afraid sometimes, like this book coming out, and I am, you know, I'm excited, but I'm still afraid because I know that, you have people that's gonna use it as tea, use it as the latest gossip, but then those people will be okay. I want to help women. And so I cannot be afraid. It's okay to be afraid, because if you're not afraid, you're not doing something right. Right? If you're not uncomfortable, then okay.
Right.
You're not doing something right.
So I can tell you from experience, of my own experience, and also having, friends that have put things out like that, the number of people that are going to sing your praises, and not because it's about you, but the number of people that are going to be supportive, and the number of people that are going to be like, thank you, are going to far outweigh the number of people that are going to say whatever. Because, just the Bible says the poor is going to be among us. I think the stupid are always going to be among us as well. So, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that there's not going to be a handful of them. But look at the magnitude and the volume of the number of people that are going to say thank you. And when you see what it does for your life and everybody else's life, you're going to be like, child, bye. I saw that and didn't see it. I saw it and didn't hear it. So let's pause for a quick commercial break. And then we're going to come back and we're going to give the listeners some advice of how they can put this all together.
Okay.
So this episode is brought to you by the free guide, When God Says Shift. Inside that guide, you will discover the 4 shifts that are required to follow God's plan to move you out of disruption and into a greater destiny, expectancy, and possibility. Head to GodSaysShift.com to access it now. So Kyia, we've talked a lot about, your own personal journey from disruption to the level of destiny that you're experiencing now. Although I can tell you ain't seen nothing yet. I can already see everything that's coming. So you ain't seen nothing yet. Praise God for that.
Hallelujah.
If you have somebody that is listening to this and they say, all of this sounds great in theory, but how do I actually do that? How do I actually, because what you described, your on the floor, give it over moment is surrender. Like the definition of surrender is saying, I quit. Not I quit as in I give up and I'm done trying, but I quit trying to do it in my own way. Lord, I'm just going to finally let you have your way. Right. So somebody is listening to this and they're like, okay, well, I'm in a process of trying to embrace my own disruption, or I'm in a process of trying to put God first for myself. What is 1 or 2 things that you would tell them of how they can actually do that?
1 or 2. One is trust God. It's easier said than done, but trust God. Trust that your faith will get you through. God is going to be there. It may seem like he's not, or that he's far, far, far away, but he's right there. And we have to trust him and give it over to him. It's just like in our relationships. Okay. So I know that what I'm responsible for and what my husband is responsible for, but I still try to micromanage my husband and tell him, this is what I need him to do when he got it. And I just need to just let go and let him have it. And so that's the same thing with God. We still want to micromanage and tell him what to do, but all we need to do is just sit back and enjoy the ride, trust him, and have faith. Have faith that what he said in his word, he will do for us. And so I know it's hard, but we just have to have that faith and just give it over to him and let him do it. And just trust that he will do it. It may not happen right when we want it to, but it will. And that's about, just have faith and trust.
I think one of the things that's important to add on to that is that just because God is silent doesn't mean that he's still.
Absolutely.
Sometimes he is working. Think about when we plant a seed in the ground. Mm-hmm. Just because it hasn't started to come up above the dirt yet doesn't mean that growth is not taking place. And so
absolutely,
we may not necessarily see anything around us, but that doesn't mean that something great is not either going on inside of us or, in somebody else, right? And so I think a lot of times when we're talking about trust God, when we're talking about trust the process, give him time and watch him work. Because I can guarantee you that there's work that is going on. It's either going on with you, It's going on in somebody else. It's going on around you. It's going on underground, and so I think a lot of times we think that because he's silent, that means that he's not answering our prayers. Because he's silent, that means, that he's either not working or we're doing something wrong. And so trusting means, I say that faith is moving forward when you can't see the way. So to me, if you're talking about trusting and having faith, you can't give it 24 to 72 hours and like, well, I didn't see nothing. I guess it's on to the next.
Absolutely. And I would say have patience. You have to be patient and trust the process. Nothing's going to happen within 24 to 72 hours. You have to trust the process and just give God his time, and what you're asking from him, what you need from him, he will provide.
Yeah. And it's not always going to feel good. It's almost like when we were forced to eat things that we didn't want to eat when we were children, and they would assure us that just because it's not good to you, it's good for you. And I think it's the same thing with God. Like sometimes God makes us eat our vegetables.
Absolutely.
So Kyia, as we begin to wrap up, how can our listeners find you?
I am on all social media platforms, Kyia Buckingham or Kyia B Sings, everywhere. My YouTube channel is Kyia Buckingham. All my music is there. All of my music you can stream from wherever you get your music from, Google Play, any of those digital platforms. And my social media is open to the public. I don't have a link for my book right now, but my book will be coming out in April. It's called The Girl Behind the Smile. I'm sorry. The Girl Behind the Smile, and it will be all over my social media as well, how you can get it. And my new single, My Worship is My Power, hopefully it will be done in April as well. I have a date for that soon. And Kyia Buckingham, if you type in Kyia Buckingham, you should be able to find me.
Okay, perfect. And you won't have to worry about finding it because I will make sure that the links to all of this is in the show notes. We are recording this episode in March of 2021, but it won't actually air when you're listening to it right now. It's in April, so who knows what might be out by then. But whatever it is that she has for you, whether it's where you can find the book, whether it's where you can find the music, and also where you can find her on social media, all of those links will be in the show notes. So Kyia, thank you so much for
being here
and being willing to share your story with my listeners. I know that there's going to be some lives that are forever changed by what it is that you had to go through.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. I enjoyed this. And God bless you for doing this. Thank you so much.
You're so welcome. Everybody, thank you so much for listening to this episode of the God Shift podcast. I'm Shayna Rattler. I hope that you will join us back here next week. Have a good day. Bye-bye.